True heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic. It's not the courage to surpass others at whatever cost, but it is the courage to serve others at whatever the cost. And organ donation, wherein you donate your organs for the benefit of others, is actually true heroism. My brief today is to talk about brain death and declaration of brain death. So when we talk about diagnosis of brain death, there's a Pliny the Elder. He was a philosopher, and he said, "So uncertain is a man's judgment that they cannot even determine death itself." And how has this evolved over the years? The evolution in the criteria of brain death to brainstem death is something that you need to understand. So what we have is, we have the brain here, the entire brain, and this is the part where you have all your cognitive functions, intelligence, and all these areas. And there is this brainstem here, which is actually responsible for your cardiac activity, for respiration, for all the autonomic functions, for the motor movements. So they have distinguished between brain death and brainstem death. And how have they done that? In the 1960s, death was defined as complete and irreversible cessation of spontaneous cardiac and respiratory functions, which means the patient is dead, respiration is gone, and circulation is gone. In 1968, the ad hoc committee of Harvard Medical Schools suddenly understood that if you remove circulation, if you remove respiration, then how do you perfuse organs for donation? So what they did was, brain death is a state of irreversible coma with the patient being totally unreceptive and unresponsive with absent reflexes and no spontaneous respiratory effort during a 3-minute period of disconnection from ventilator. So which means that if you remove a patient from ventilator, he has no respiration, no brainstem reflexes, and no other reflexes. So this patient was decided to be brain dead. And brain dead would mean that there is no circulation to the brain, there is no electrophysiological activity to the brain. But now the whole concept has changed. In the United Kingdom and in India, it's not brain dead, it is brain stem dead. And what is brain stem dead? It means that brain stem means that the patient who has preserved cortical electrical activity or intracranial blood flow can still be considered dead if all his brainstem signs are absent. So it has evolved from complete cardiorespiratory death to brain death to brainstem death. And why has this evolution taken place? This has taken place simply to facilitate organ donation. So what is the Indian law on it? Transplantation of Human Organs Act 1994, it says, brainstem death refers to the stage at which all functions of the brainstem have permanently and irrevocably ceased. So you can remove the ventilator and you can harvest this patient's organ. The important thing here is that the diagnosis is based only on clinical examination. Neurophysiological or imaging study does not form a part of the diagnostic requirements, nor are they legally required. So they have really improved the diagnosis of brain death. Confirmatory tests may be carried out if the panel of doctors are in doubt or there is disagreement regarding the diagnosis. Now, who should diagnose brain death? There is a team of 4 medical experts, and this includes a medical administrator in charge of the hospital. It can be an authorized specialist. It can be an authorized neurologist and neurosurgeon, and there can be a primary physician. And an amendment in the THO Act in 2011, they have allowed selection of a surgeon physician and an anesthetist intensivist in the event of non-availability of an approved neurosurgeon or a neurologist. Testing is done after 6 hours of no recordable brainstem signs, provided the preconditions are met. And we will discuss the preconditions. Testing is done by 2 doctors at an interval of 6 hours apart. And in SGPGI, we have a committee of faculty members, both from non-neurological science areas, as well as neurological science background, who are supposed to diagnose brain dead patients. And we have done a couple of brain dead transplantations also. What is the evaluation criteria? First is establishment of etiology. It should be a credible etiology. It should not be that somebody has taken a drug and then you are diagnosing brain dead. Or there is a patient with subarachnoid hemorrhage who's right now in a poor state, but is likely to improve over a period of time. So you have to consider the etiology first. The second is exclude potentially reversible syndromes that may produce signs similar to brain death. And this could be intoxication. Somebody has taken alcohol. Somebody has taken drugs, including muscle relaxant, which depress the central nervous system. Somebody who has primary hypothermia, decreased temperature. Somebody who's in hypovolemic shock. There is some circulation, there is some bleeding, and this patient comes in hypovolemic shock. Or is there is a metabolic or endocrine abnormality because of which the patient is non-responsive at that particular point of time. The third is you have to demonstrate clinical signs of brain death, including coma, brainstem areflexia, and apnea. Apnea means absence of respiration. So you have a whole long sequence of cranial nerves, and you have respiratory center deficits and everything. So you have to clinically diagnose all of them. So what are these clinical signs? So the mandatory test will be a patient should be deeply comatose due to irreversible brain damage of known etiology. Head injury, sudden unconsciousness, you know that this patient can be brain dead. There is the possibility of his being brain dead. Exclude reversible causes of coma. Patient should be on ventilator because of cessation of spontaneous respiration. Exclude neuromuscular blocking drugs as a cause of respiratory failure. And third is, all the prescribed tests are required to be repeated after a minimum period of 6 hours. This is to ensure that there is no observer error and persistence of the clinical state can be documented. What are these brainstem reflexes that we all can clinically examine? And all of us should know about these. This is very simple. One of them is a pupillary light reflex. You just shine light into the eye and you see that the pupil constricts. That is a simple pupillary reflex. So pupils are dilated, fixed, and do not react to light. Second is doll's eye movements are absent. Supposing if there is an unconscious patient and you turn the head from side to side, what happens is that the eye movement occurs in the opposite direction, unless the patient is completely conscious and is fixating gaze. So if the patient is not fixating gaze, if you turn the head on one side, then the eyes go on the other side. This is doll's eye movement. And this becomes absent in a patient who's brain dead. Corneal reflex is absent, means you put a small thick cotton piece and you touch it to the cornea, the black part of the eye, and then there is a sudden blinking of the eye and lacrimation. This becomes absent in a patient who's brain dead. There is no motor response to stimulation. Supposing you do an eyeball pressure, put a lot of pressure here, this is painful, very painful. The patient will not respond to that. There is no gag reflex. You take a stick and you touch the posterior pharyngeal wall. And normally what happens is you suddenly gag. There's a vomiting sensation. There is no gag reflex. There is no cough reflex if you touch the larynx. The vestibulo-ocular reflex. So what you can do is you can put a little bit of cold water in the ear and the eardrum is stimulated and that causes sudden movements of the eye. And this becomes absent. And finally, you have the apnea test, and I'm going to talk more about the apnea test in a second. In infants and children, they are more resilient than adults, and a longer time between assessment is required of greater than 6 hours. And this varies according to the patient's age. So if there is a child who's at term or 2 months old, only 48 you need to wait for 48 hours. From 2 months to 1 year, you have to wait for 24 hours. 1 year to 18 years, 12 hours you have to wait. And greater than 18 years, it's as an adult. So the period before which you can declare brain dead varies in children. The diagnosis of brain dead cannot be made in preterm children of gestational age less than 37 weeks. The third is assessment in neonates and infants should be performed by pediatric specialists with critical care training. Now you have this whole pro forma in SGPGI, and you can actually fill it, and there is a consent on the basis of that. The patient can say, the patient's relative can say that their relative can donate organs, and this is all well established. There's a very interesting sign by the name of Lazarus sign. Who was Lazarus? So there's a Saint Lazarus in Christian teaching, and he was a disciple of Jesus Christ. And what happened was, on the fourth day after his death, he certainly came to life, and therefore it is known as he is known as Saint Lazarus. It was a miracle which was happened. Now, what is this Lazarus sign in brain dead patients? What happens is, if you turn the patient's head from side to side, there may be a movement of the hands. There may be a movement of these hands. And these movements of the hands are just a local reflex arc which is active. And this is not a sign that the patient can be revived or that he is not brainstem dead. So a brainstem dead patient can also have a Lazarus sign in which the movements of the hand can occur whenever you turn the neck. And this is known as the Lazarus sign. And this is also a sign of a brainstem dead patient. Apnea test is a very important test. And what is this test? And it's like, shrouded in mystery, but it's a very simple test. What happens is that carbon dioxide is the most potent stimulus for respiration. Oxygen is not, carbon dioxide is. So supposing a patient is in respiratory failure, we have a patient who has to be put on ventilator. What happens is that his carbon dioxide goes on increasing, it goes on increasing. Once it goes on increasing, it starts stimulating the brain centers and it causes stimulation of respiration. So what is done is you disconnect the patient from mechanical ventilator, place an oxygen cannula at the level of the carina, just put it inside, deep inside in the throat, and observe for respiratory movements for 8 minutes. And if there is apnea, then or you rule out any hypotension or cardiac arrhythmia or desaturation. So there is apnea, there is no other problem. Then you test for the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. If the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is more than 60, and yet the patient is maintaining apnea, that means that despite of increase in carbon dioxide, the patient is not getting stimulated and remains in apnea. And that is the surest sign that there is brainstem death in this patient. So despite of increase in carbon dioxide, the patient's respiration is not getting stimulated and the patient is in apnea. This is known as apnea test. There are some two tests, simple tests. One is you have EEG, which is just a straight EEG line on EEG, and on this angiogram, you can see that there is complete loss of vascularity. And on radionuclide scan, you see that there is no filling of the brain vessels. So these are indirect signs of brain death. So to conclude, I'd like to say, live life after death, pledge to donate your body. This is a very noble cause. मुझको मुझ में जगह नहीं मिलती, तू है मौजूद इस कदर मुझ में. Ask a patient who's actually received, organ donation from somebody and has a second life, and he will tell you that this is absolutely true. मुझको मुझ में जगह नहीं मिलती, तू है मौजूद इस कदर मुझ में. Thank you very much.